Hi, my name is Lisbeth Haheim. I'm a clinical research coordinator in the lab. This is the Transcranial Magnetic Stimulation lab here at the University of Arizona. It is basically a non-invasive brain stimulation technique that utilizes a magnetic field and a corresponding electrical field, which is actually the thing that can interact with your brain. We use that to create an electrical impulse that can affect your neurons, and that is the actual stimulation component. We can use it for diagnostic purposes and also for treatment. Here in the lab, we work on both of those things depending on the study. We are primarily looking at the interaction between TMS and memory and enhancing memory. So once you've sort of agreed to be in the study and you've sort of gone through the consent forms and all of our screening for safety reasons, we start doing some testing. So we start with something called a neuropsychological test, which is sort of a written cognitive exam. And once that's done, you will have an MRI. You're in there for about an hour. Sometimes you'll do a task in there, but typically we're just sort of getting some baseline scans to see where you're at for our own data. And then you will go on to do TMS. Because we have that MRI, by the time you've come in, we have already loaded it up and sort of done a lot of stuff on our end. But then we have to sort of map where you are in space to where your MRI is, what the computer knows. And so we use a couple different tools for that. We are first going to use this tracker. It is basically just a set of infrared balls, which communicates with our camera here. We sort of set on your forehead like this, and then we use this tool that we can use to mark little points on your face. So we do on the edges of your ears, the edges of your eyes, and then one point right across your nose. And we just sort of gently place it there and then tell the camera to measure where that is in space. And then that essentially allows us to map where you are to where your brain is. These electrodes are basically just stuck onto your skin. We do one on your thumb and one on your index finger. These will basically just allow us to measure the responses in your hand to the stimulation. And that sort of brings us to one of our first actual TMS things, which is resting motor threshold. That is basically just a way for us to figure out how much power is required to get your brain to respond. And so we will be firing the pulses into your brain. It is, painless. It sort of feels like a little tapping sensation. And then we will be measuring those responses with these electrodes on our computer. And you may feel a little twitch, but sometimes you don't. The bigger coil, which is actually sort of the treatment coil, it's a little bit heavier and larger, and it will just sort of be held up to your brain at the spot that we've decided on. It sort of makes a loud tapping sound for either 40 seconds or 3 minutes, depending on our protocol. It's painless. Sometimes, again, it feels like a little tapping sensation, but it shouldn't be uncomfortable. It shouldn't cause any issues at all. We use the little electrode here on your fingers. We also use an EEG cap, and then finally we use the MRI. These are all just sort of ways for us to measure various aspects of your brain and how it may be responding to TMS. If you're interested in participating or learning more about our lab and our research or being in a study, feel free to contact us. We'd be happy to hear from you.